When people think of ancient giants, dinosaurs usually steal the spotlight. But long after the last T-Rex vanished, an even larger land beast stomped across Europe and Asia, towering over mammoths and terrifying early humans. This was Palaeoloxodon, the straight-tusked elephant, and it may have been the biggest land mammal to ever live. And the scariest part? We were there to see it fall. Let's set the scene. Walking through a prehistoric landscape, maybe along a forest path lined with giant oaks, or out on a wide open plain where cold winds sweep across the grass. A deep rumble echoes in the distance. The ground shakes under your feet, sending a thrill up your spine. Through the trees, an enormous creature steps into view. Its head is level with the second floor of a house. This is Palaeoloxodon, the straight-tusked elephant, and it's unlike anything seen before. This wasn't just a big animal, it was a true giant. Some species of Palaeoloxodon stood over 13 feet tall at the shoulder, and the largest, Palaeoloxodon pneumaticus, reached nearly 17 feet. That's taller than a two-story building, or even taller than a giraffe standing on another giraffe's back. But this animal wasn't just tall. The biggest individuals weighed around 44,000 pounds, or about 22 tons. That's more than 4 pickup trucks stacked together, or the weight of a city bus packed with passengers. Palaeoloxodon didn't just rule one area or stick to a single type of land. Fossil bones have been found in Spain, Germany, England, Italy, China, and India. It moved through snowy forests, crossed wide grassy plains, and even climbed rocky hillsides. In each place, it adjusted to the changing climate and learned to eat different kinds of food, from leaves and bark to tough grass. This flexibility helped it survive in many parts of the world, even as the environment shifted over thousands of years. Its most striking feature was its tusks, which were long, thick, and straight like lances. Some tusks stretched longer than a family car. They were not just for digging up roots or fighting off rivals. These tusks could be used to impress other elephants, scare away predators, or attract mates. The skull had a tall, broad crest at the top, which made the elephant's head look even larger. This special crest supported the heavy tusks and gave strong neck muscles a place to attach, making it possible to move such an enormous head. What's even more fascinating, Palaeoloxodon lived during a time when humans were just starting to invent tools and learn to work together in groups. There's solid evidence that early humans met these giants and sometimes hunted them. It took extraordinary bravery for a small group of people, armed only with wooden or stone-tipped spears, to face an animal so powerful it could end their lives with a single step. Archaeologists have found bones with cut marks and signs of butchery, proving that these encounters were real and sometimes ended with a giant feast. Palaeoloxodon was truly one of the wonders of the ancient world. When thinking about the Ice Age, there's more to remember than just mammoths and saber-toothed cats. The straight-tusked elephant was the largest land mammal outside the age of dinosaurs, and its story still leaves us in awe of the natural world's possibilities. The body of Palaeoloxodon was an engineering marvel. Every part was designed to carry massive weight, survive harsh climates, and get the most out of every meal. Its tusks were the first thing anyone would notice. 2 giant spears, each up to 14 feet long, grew straight out from its face. The tusks alone could weigh several hundred pounds each. They could dig up tough roots, break branches, and serve as impressive displays to scare off predators or rivals. The skull was just as remarkable. It featured a huge, flattened crest, almost like the roof of a small car. This wasn't just for show. The crest worked as an anchor point for enormous neck muscles. Without it, the weight of the tusks and head would have pulled the elephant's head down. With it, Palaeoloxodon could move its head with surprising strength and precision, lowering it to eat grass or lifting it to reach branches high above. The legs were like pillars. Each one was thick as a tree trunk and ended in wide, padded feet. These big feet helped spread out the elephant's weight so it could walk over muddy or soft ground without sinking. The leg bones are some of the largest ever found for any land mammal. When scientists first found these bones, they thought they belonged to dinosaurs. Its body was covered in thick, wrinkled skin, likely with sparse hair. This skin wasn't just tough, it was like built-in armor, protecting the elephant from bites, thorns, and even extreme weather. It may have had smaller ears than modern African elephants, since large ears are better for losing heat in hot climates, and Palaeoloxodon often lived in cooler places. The inside was just as impressive. Its heart had to be huge to pump blood to its head and back. The lungs needed to draw in enough air to feed oxygen to all those giant muscles. Its digestive system was like a factory line, breaking down hundreds of pounds of plant matter every day. This animal was a true eating machine, constantly searching for food to fuel its enormous body. Palaeoloxodon's brain was also large, bigger than a human's by far. It needed to control a trunk with thousands of muscles, as well as manage social bonds and navigate a changing world. Modern elephants are smart, social, and able to solve problems. Palaeoloxodon probably was too. What's wild is that, despite its size, Palaeoloxodon wasn't slow and clumsy. Like today's elephants, it could walk for miles and even charge at surprising speeds if threatened. Its muscles and bones were perfectly balanced to move such bulk without breaking down. The journey of Palaeoloxodon started in Africa, where its earliest ancestors roamed. As the climate shifted and new land routes opened, small groups of these elephants began to move north, following rivers, searching for new grazing grounds, and crossing natural bridges into Europe and Asia. This slow, steady migration took thousands of years. As the elephants spread out, they changed. In some areas, like southern Europe, they became Palaeoloxodon antiquus, a species that loved the open woodlands and valleys. In Asia, they evolved into Palaeoloxodon pneumaticus, which became the biggest of them all. Along the way, the elephants adapted to different foods and weather. Some island populations even shrank over generations, turning into pygmy elephants on islands like Malta, Sicily, and Cyprus, because there was less food and fewer predators. During the Ice Age, Earth was a place of wild change. Glaciers advanced and melted away, forests grew and vanished, and grasslands spread out, only to disappear again. Palaeoloxodon survived all of this by being flexible. It could eat many kinds of plants, travel long distances, and live in everything from thick woods to windy plains. These elephants often shared their world with woolly mammoths, giant deer, cave lions, and early humans. Some lived in herds that must have been a sight to see, dozens of massive elephants moving together across the land. Fossils have been found far and wide, from the edges of the Atlantic Ocean to the rivers of China, and even in the Japanese islands. Every new land presented a challenge, but Palaeoloxodon handled them by changing just enough to fit in. It is a lesson in survival. Adapt, move, and keep trying, even when the world gets tough. By the time our species, Homo sapiens, appeared, Palaeoloxodon had already spread across continents, built up populations in many places, and survived multiple waves of climate chaos. Its journey across continents is one of the most impressive stories in mammal history. Life for Palaeoloxodon was all about moving, eating, and sticking together. The Pleistocene world was unpredictable. Some years were warm, others icy cold, and landscapes could change fast. One season, your home could be a lush forest, but a few years later, it could turn into open grassland. Palaeoloxodon adapted to it all. It liked areas where water and plants were easy to find: river valleys, lake shores, open woodlands, and grasslands. In these places, food was everywhere: grass, leaves, twigs, bark, fruit, and even shrubs. The elephants used their trunks to reach high branches or pull up roots from underground, and their tusks to strip bark or break apart tough plants. Their massive size allowed them to push over small trees to get at the tastiest leaves. Being big helped with survival. Few predators would dare take on a full-grown Palaeoloxodon. But calves and sick animals were vulnerable to packs of giant hyenas, saber-toothed cats, or, later on, bands of human hunters. That's where the herd came in. Elephants stick together, forming strong family bonds. The adults protected the young, and everyone worked together to find food and water. Communication was key. Modern elephants talk with rumbles too deep for humans to hear, as well as with trumpeting, body movements, and even touch. Palaeoloxodon probably did the same. These sounds could carry for miles across the open plains or echo through the woods, letting herds keep in touch or warn each other about danger. Migration was part of their lives too. When food ran low or the weather turned harsh, whole herds would travel, sometimes for hundreds of miles following ancient paths. The biggest males might wander alone or join other males, while family groups stayed together year after year. Daily life was about more than just survival, though. Elephants are known for play, learning, memory, and even showing signs of grief for lost herd members. Palaeoloxodon likely shared these deep social traits, making them not just physically huge, but emotionally complex as well. Seeing a herd of these giants would be unforgettable. Huge bodies moving in perfect rhythm, trumpeting calls ringing out, and clouds of dust rising under their feet. It was a world built for giants, and Palaeoloxodon was king. On the list of Earth's biggest land animals, Palaeoloxodon is near the top, especially among mammals. Only a handful of creatures even come close. Take Paraceratherium, a hornless rhinoceros from about 30 million years ago. It was tall, up to 16 feet at the shoulder, and maybe 20 tons in weight. That's huge, but the largest Palaeoloxodon was even heavier, possibly up to 22 tons. Next, there's the woolly mammoth, often the star of Ice Age stories. Most mammoths stood about 11 feet tall and weighed up to 8 tons. That's still big, but Palaeoloxodon could be twice as heavy and much taller. Even the largest mammoth species, like the Columbian mammoth, couldn't match the bulk of the biggest, straight-tusked elephants. How about today's African elephants? The largest living land animal, a big African bull, might weigh around 6 tons and stand about 10 to 13 feet tall at the shoulder. That's impressive, but still only a fraction of Palaeoloxodon's mass. Of course, if you include dinosaurs, sauropods like Argentinosaurus and Brachiosaurus dwarf all mammals, reaching 60 feet or more in length and weighing over 50 tons. But among mammals, especially after the age of dinosaurs, Palaeoloxodon stands out as a true champion. Its size lets it do things few other animals could. It shaped the landscape, making paths, opening up forests, and even changing where water flowed. It was a living bulldozer, clearing space for other animals and plants. Its massive bulk also meant it needed a huge area to find enough food and water. But there were downsides. Needing so much food meant that if plants ran short, trouble came fast. Getting stuck in mud, falling into a river, or facing a long drought could be fatal for such a heavy animal. And as the world changed, its size became a challenge as well as a gift. Now, just for fun, let's see what would happen if Palaeoloxodon faced off against a T-Rex. These two giants never crossed paths. Tyrannosaurus rex ruled North America millions of years earlier, and Palaeoloxodon roamed Eurasia long after the dinosaurs. Still, the matchup is too interesting to ignore. T-Rex was a terrifying predator, 12 feet tall at the hips, up to 40 feet long, and weighing about 9 tons. Its bite was one of the strongest ever, able to crush bone like it was a breadstick. It could run fast in short bursts, maybe as fast as 20 miles per hour, and its teeth were sharp, thick, and deadly. But Palaeoloxodon brings its power to the fight. At up to 17 feet tall and 22 tons, it's more than double T-Rex's weight. Its skin was thick and tough, and it had 2 massive, straight tusks. One good swing could do real damage, and its herd could defend each other with sheer numbers and coordination. If T-Rex attacked a healthy adult Palaeoloxodon, it would face a wall of tusks, muscle, and thick hide. The elephant could charge with surprising speed, using its size and momentum as a weapon. T-Rex would probably look for an easier meal, a calf, a weak animal, or a stray. In a one-on-one showdown, T-Rex might land a devastating bite. But Palaeoloxodon's size and strength would make it a tough opponent. It's hard to say who would win. Nature rarely lets such battles happen, because the risks are so high for both sides. More likely, these two giants would keep their distance, each ruling their world in their own time. Even the mightiest animals can be brought down by change. For Palaeoloxodon, the end came from a mix of shifting climate, changing landscapes, and a new kind of predator, humans. As the last ice age ended, temperatures rose and weather patterns shifted. Grasslands shrank, forests grew thicker, and the places where Palaeoloxodon found its food and water became harder to reach. Rivers changed course, and new barriers made it difficult for herds to migrate. Less food meant more competition, and big animals suffered most. At the same time, humans were spreading across Europe and Asia. They brought sharp tools, clever traps, and most importantly, the ability to work together in groups. Early people may have used teamwork to hunt these elephants, driving them into traps, using fire, or waiting for the right moment to strike. Archaeologists have found Palaeoloxodon bones with cut marks, showing that humans did hunt them and used every part: meat, bones, and tusks. Big animals like Palaeoloxodon also reproduced slowly. It could take decades for a calf to grow up and have babies of its own. If many adults died from hunger, disease, or hunting, it was almost impossible for the population to recover. As their world shrank, the straight-tusked elephants faced tough choices: move, adapt, or disappear. On islands, some became smaller and smaller, trying to survive with less food. On the mainland, herds grew smaller, and soon there weren't enough left to survive tough years. By around 40,000 years ago, the last of the giant Palaeoloxodon were gone. Their disappearance was part of a wave that took out mammoths, giant deer, cave lions, and more. The reasons are still debated, but it's clear that climate change and human hunting both played a part. Palaeoloxodon's story might seem ancient, but it still matters today. Every fossil is a clue, teaching us how life works and how quickly things can change. When scientists look at the bones of Palaeoloxodon, they see more than just size. They see lessons about survival, adaptation, and loss. One big lesson is how fragile giants can be. Being huge helps animals survive predators and reach food others can't, but it also means they need lots of resources. If the world changes too fast, if plants disappear, if water dries up, if people hunt too many giants can't keep up. Modern elephants are facing some of the same problems today. Their habitats are getting smaller, water is harder to find, and humans are spreading everywhere. The African forest elephant is even more closely related to Palaeoloxodon than it is to the African bush elephant. This shows how family trees can have surprising twists and how quickly things can change. The story of Palaeoloxodon also tells us about evolution's experiments. Sometimes nature builds giants, but it doesn't always last. If the balance tips, even the mightiest can fall. Palaeoloxodon's disappearance is a warning. If we don't protect today's giants, they too could vanish, taking their stories with them. Conserving elephants and other big animals is about more than saving a species. It's about keeping the world's wild magic alive. Fossils remind us that Earth used to be full of incredible animals, living lives as complex and rich as any today. We can't bring Palaeoloxodon back, but we can learn from its story about strength, change, and our role in shaping the future. By studying these giants, we also connect with our past. Early humans saw Palaeoloxodon, hunted them, maybe even honored them in stories around ancient campfires. These elephants are a part of our story too, reminding us that we share the planet with extraordinary creatures and that our choices matter. Palaeoloxodon was more than just a giant. It was a living reminder of how bold nature can be and how quickly the world can change. Its rise and fall tell us about survival, struggle, and the power of adaptation. Today, its story warns us to protect the giants that remain and remember the lessons of the past. What do you think of this forgotten elephant?